What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. The market had another wild day, and we have some giant news, especially with China stocks. And we also are set for a ton of volatility later this week as Powell has his FOMC press conference. So be prepared for volatility, and let us know what stocks you are watching in the comments down below. There's a good chance we cover them in tomorrow's video. But Tom, what is going on in this crazy market?
Yeah, this is insane, Mike. The SPY dipped down today. You can see the VXX ended up rising 9.3%, just exploding, especially early on this morning. The VIX just started exploding out of nowhere, and we have some pretty bad news to talk about. The vaccine stocks are starting to fly back to the upside. Moderna rose 8.5% as there's actually a pretty bad outbreak going on in China right now. Pretty much analysts are worried that this outbreak will pretty much cause COVID to take longer to resolve than expected. And as we can see, on Moderna's chart here, especially on a daily chart, you can see they've been going down for the past, 6-7 months. Same thing with Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson. And now over the past couple of weeks, they've been rising right back to the upside. And apparently this outbreak in China is having a pretty big influence on these stocks. So I wanted to point these out because they had a lot of momentum to the upside today. And that would be some pretty bad news if we started seeing more COVID restrictions and stuff like that coming out, just like we are in these other countries.
Yeah, very true. I mean, it's definitely some pretty crazy news. Looking at the market overall today, Tom, there was a ton of volatility, and kind of like you said, VXX is exploding to the upside. And Tom, for everyone who doesn't know who's watching this video, when the market tanks down, VXX explodes to the upside, and that's exactly what we saw today. I mean, Tom, look at that intraday movement. It's up 10% almost.
Yeah, it's insane. It really flew up. It broke that $28 resistance. We got all the way up to $30. It's getting really explosive, and there's some more crazy news coming out. I feel like the market is starting to get volatile ahead of these FOMC meetings coming up, Mike. These meetings are going to be crucial for the market. As we can see, the SPY kind of sold off today in anticipation of these events, but the Feds are expected to raise interest rates by 0.25%. We have Powell speaking on Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. Their statement will come out at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, I mean, they're gonna talk about a whole bunch of stuff, including their outlook for rates as well as GDP, inflation, and unemployment. So that's going to be big there. It's just such a big event, Mike. I feel like that the VIX is starting to go crazy because their market might start like it's trying to price in some volatility here, which means we might see a pretty big move over the next few days.
Very true. And I just want to reiterate what Tom said. The market is going to go crazy on Wednesday. Like Tom just said, Powell has his FOMC statement and press conference, and that's going to be giant. It's going to be around 2 p.m. Eastern time. And then the conference is at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. But yeah, that's going to be giant, Tom. Looking across some stocks today like Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, it was pretty bad. You don't see these stocks tank like they did today too often.
Yeah, you really don't. They are down in a big way. Nvidia really broke below 215 at the end of the day, really moved lower. Even some of our favorites, Mike, like DraftKings, were down 5%. We have AMC also down 5%. This one got really low this morning. I can't believe how much they're selling off. Even the EV sector, just like you mentioned, Tesla was down, Lucid was down. We even had Square down. It was a pretty bloody day in the market, to say the least. The only things we really saw going up with some good momentum was Moderna earlier on. And I know some of the bank stocks did well today, like Bank of America. Maybe that's because Bank of America and JP Morgan and these big banks are liking the possibility of this rate hike, Mike. I know that Powell is expected to raise rates 0.25%. So that's going to be pretty big. I know that banks have been anticipating this for a while now.
Yeah, and then let's check out some of these China stocks like Alibaba, Baidu, like JD, and some others. Like, it was brutal today. A lot of them were down over 10%. And Tom, would you mind pulling up the article and tell us what's happening between the U.S. and China right now?
Yeah, this is not good, Mike. The SEC identified 5 U.S. companies today that failed to comply with the Holding Foreign Companies Accountable Act. And these companies are pretty big, Mike. These are big names, including Alibaba, Baidu, and JD. All those stocks fell over 10%. So it's a really bad situation going on, Mike. We've been talking about the possibility of having these China stocks delisted, and then they're falling down. And then there was also news that came out today that China might be trying to help Russia kind of circumvent some sanctions and stuff like that. They held intense 7-hour talks today with China amid this controversy. So definitely a big deal going on with China, Mike. But to me, this SEC news is just terrible. We can see on the chart, JD down 10%. Baba's really selling off all the way down to $77 now. And if we look at Baba on the max daily chart, this sell-off is getting so drastic that honestly, Mike, it's getting pretty worrisome now. And look at that IV too.
True that. And I just want to emphasize really quickly, the SEC identified 5 U.S. listed companies, but they're really China stocks. So keep that in mind. But yeah, Tom, I mean, the movement has been crazy lately. And I just feel like these China stocks like Alibaba and more have just been going down for months. And honestly, they've been falling a lot longer than even some of these growth plays.
Yeah, they really have. I know that. Remember, China had that Evergrande situation earlier last year, and that really made those stocks start to dip down as well. I know that was a really bad situation for pretty much the real estate market over there. So overall, I mean, they've had a lot of controversy. I know the U.S. and China have had some controversy / tension mixed in as well. So it's always a fun time when we're talking about the China stocks, Mike. I know it's a pretty crazy situation, and pretty much our relationship with China has such a big influence on the news and everything like that. So hopefully, maybe these talks will go good and China might help us out with the Russia situation. But if not, I mean, it might keep getting worse, Mike. And it's not good to see the SEC targeting these companies. And I'm also kind of curious, Mike, if the SEC saw China starting to do some stuff with Russia, and then they're like, hey, we'll go ahead and move your companies down if you don't want to comply.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So there's definitely a lot of movement and crazy activity going on in the markets, Tom. Do you have any favorite setups or anything specifically that you were watching?
Yeah, I'm really keeping my eyes on these airlines, Mike. This morning they popped up in a pretty good way. They honestly normally move on their own. They generally they don't follow the market too often. Of course, if the market's up, it's always better for the airlines. But in the end, though, they had a pretty big pop this morning while the SPY was kind of dipping down. So I'm really going to keep my eyes on these. AAL had a pretty good day along with Delta Airlines. There wasn't the best for Delta, but even like RCL early on had a lot of movement. So I'm going to keep my eyes on these, Mike, as well as some of these defense plays. I saw Lockheed Martin was up 1.2% today. It wasn't an explosive day by any means, but it looks like they're consolidating a lot down here. And I feel like that these tensions with Russia are just not quite over yet. So we'll have to see how these stocks do. But in the end, I mean, these are the only stocks moving in a good way to the upside today. And we're only seeing them up like 1%. Everything was mainly to the downside. We had XPEV today down 13%. We even had NEO, Mike. NEO had a terrible day, down 12%. I know they're a China stock as well. So a lot of stocks were bleeding off today, even like the charge point stocks or EV charging stations. Just overall, lots of bloody movement today. Like I said, lots of stocks down 10% plus, and we don't see that too often.
Very true. So before we move on to the next point of the video, I want to give a giant shout out to our member of the day, Couch Potato, in the YouTube comments. Thank you so much for all of the consistent comments and positivity in the comment section down below. Tom and I really appreciate you. But Tom, it is now time for the momentum plays. With the first one, we have BLNK to the downside.
Yeah, and guys, these momentum plays have been on fire lately. Go ahead and make BLNK break below $20.77.
All right, with the next one, we have RBLX also to the downside.
Roblox, yeah, make them break below 36.33, that low of day there. And man, with the way they're running down, definitely eye this one up. You might be able to catch a nice like 3 to 4%er.
All right, and with the last one, we have it to the upside, and it's FB.
Yeah, Facebook, they had a pretty good day today. Go ahead and make them break out above 190. If they break that, maybe you'll see a nice run back up to 192.50 or even maybe 195.
For sure. Facebook, it had a lot of good movement this morning, and it's definitely at a pretty good level, especially for the long term, in my opinion. So it's definitely one to keep on your radar. So we're watching Facebook for a potential day trade to the upside tomorrow, only if it breaks above the level Tom listed. And then we are watching Roblox and Blink for potential day trades to the downside tomorrow, only if they break below the levels Tom listed. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you guys liked today's video, please consider subscribing. We make brand new videos every single day, and the market is about to get very volatile. Tom, I know we already said this, but it's a big week. We have Powell's FOMC meeting and press conference on Wednesday. The VIX is shooting up. Apple's tanking down. Tesla's tanking. The China stocks are going crazy. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there is. We need Powell to come in clutch for us. I know he generally does pretty well for the markets. At least he has for the past couple of years. So hopefully he comes out with a nice dovish tone and we end up making the markets rise back up. I think that would be a really good scenario. And you know what? They might keep some of their policy in place longer now because this Russia situation has been obviously causing a lot of volatility and uncertainty in the market. So who knows? Maybe he'll help the market shoot back up, especially if they maybe announce that they're not going to cut their bond purchasing quite as fast. And, I know that they've been talking a lot about raising interest rates quicker than expected. And like I said before earlier, Mike, they're only expected to raise it 0.25%. So maybe that'll help the market out.
Yep, we will see. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe. But besides that, thank you guys so much for watching.